talking Interview with the Vampire. This episode that we're discussing today is called Don't Be Afraid, Just Start the Tape. Got my laptop ready to go. The episode's actually playing. Just have it up in case. I'm gonna scroll through quickly so I don't miss any points. Now this episode was so enthralling and intriguing that every time I went to go and watch it to take notes from what I wanted to talk about, I ended up just watching the episode and not really taking any notes. So my notes are very sparse, but the good thing is that this episode primarily focuses on Daniel and Louis in the 70s. It's speaking of the 70s, we have our fro out, giving 70s. We got this shirt, I don't know how much you can see, but that's giving very 70s nostalgia. And like I said, this episode is Daniel and Louis specific. So when we dug into the Interview with the Vampire eyeshadow palette, we went very much with this sparkly brown color up here. Well, not sparkly, it has like a shimmer. This dark shimmery brown color called Louis. And then we went into this highlight color called Mortal. So I felt that was very apt for this episode. Again, first things first, this is not a spoiler-free talk about the episode. About, clearly we're going to be talking about the episodes. It's not spoiler free for that, but it's also not spoiler free for the books, Vampire Chronicles, and it's also not spoiler free for the movie. So we may or may not bring in some information from the movie. So if you're really coming to the show with the blank slate, like I know some people are, and you don't want to have any type of spoilers or any information that might come into play in the show, then I suggest you don't watch this. Come back to it after this season has already aired. I don't want to spoil anybody for anything. But yeah, that being said, we have a new addition to this setup that's growing here. I got this baby. Can I take it down without it falling on my head? Did it. I got this baby from Immortal AMC. Did I put the camera back in it? I did. So they sent this out as a PR package before the show aired, and I think they had a few extras available, so they sent it out to a couple of fans. I've been tagging them in my stuff, my cosplay stuff, so I'm assuming that's why I got selected to receive this. But it's a super cool little paper camera, and it reads, join Louis de Pontelac, Jacob Anderson, on a journey through Paris with his vampire companions Claudia Delaney Hales, and Armand Assad Zaman, and Memories of Lestat Sam Reed, as they encounter a new coven of vampires who have a story to tell on their own. Ahead of season 2, like I said, it was a PR package ahead of season 2. Ahead of the season 2 premiere, please enjoy this enclosed gift to capture memories of your own. Don't forget to share on social media using Interview with the Vampire and Immortal AMC. And just like one of Louis' photographs, as we've seen, Louis is into photography this season. We are Immortally Yours, AMC Networks. So cute little paper camera. It has a couple of different modes, which is awesome. Rechargeable batteries. The picture quality is actually pretty good. And it comes with just this thing, some pictures, and it is just like it's just a connective device to transfer the photos. And it's branded with Immortal AMC. Don't know how well you can see that with the glare from my lighting, but yeah, it's used to connect the camera to your laptop or camera to transfer photos. So this is pretty cool. Hopefully I get some use out of it. I love the box. Nice little box for my trinkets, if all else fails. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight this baby and say thank you to Immortal AMC for choosing me to be one of the fans to get this. Super appreciate it. And it also has like little faux stamps on it. I don't know how well you can see that. It says Paris and New Orleans. It's like an envelope, which is pretty cool with like stamps on it. So we're gonna stick that back up there. All right, y'all, let's finally get into this episode with all that out of the way. Again, it's called Don't Be Afraid, Just Start the Tape. The episode starts, we see Daniel, Louis, and Armand sitting around the table as they do. Armand is going on a hunt. As an old vampire, he really doesn't need to eat a lot, but they say when he does eat, he prefers to hunt for it, so like have a chase. So we have him out of the picture, going to eat a F-boy, Malik, I think his name was. He doesn't give a great impression, so it's assumed that, you know, we won't be missing Malik, the world won't be missing him. It's a really interesting way that Armand has chosen to eat. His victims don't have any sort of chance, so it's like, is it really a hunt? I don't know. But he's out of the picture. We have Louis and Daniel finally alone together, and Daniel takes advantage of this time to talk to Louis one-on-one and is like, what happened in the 70s? I need to know what happened to us. I'm getting all these flashback memories. I want to piece it together. So he asks Louis. Louis not too happy to talk about it, but he pleads to this human part of Louis, like, I'm here for you to help you tell your story. Please give me 5 minutes to remember peace of mind. So Louis agrees. So we're transported back to San Francisco in the 1970s, and the episode actually opens with the two cities that kind of make a vampire mouth as San Francisco and Dubai. So it's super interesting and cool. I love how they change the two cities depending on where we're going to be in the episode. We're seeing young Manuel, as the fandom loves to call him, young Daniel, and Louis in the apartment finally. And Louis is eager to tell his story, and young Daniel is eager to get high, and also eager to get into Louis's pants. So Louis and Daniel are talking, and I love this moment of levity in the episode. There's been so much more humor in this season than in season 1, which is really interesting. But yeah, we have Daniel firstly being terrified of Louis, asking him, is he the Zodiac killer? When Louis proves to him that he's a vampire. Like, sir, the Zodiac killer's a vampire? Like, what? Okay. And then 5 minutes later, he's begging Louis to see his fangs again, which, same Daniel. I love to see it as well. But yeah, so they're talking, Louis telling him his life story, he's bad-mouthing Lestat, and again, there's this funny moment where Daniel's agreeing with him wholeheartedly, like, yeah, he's a piece of crap. And it's just like that moment in 2 episodes ago or last episode where we have this parallel of Dreamstat totally agreeing that the photograph auditor, it sucks and you're good, Louis. What does he expect? Totally like agreeing with Louis and his point of view. And we kind of have this mirroring of with Daniel doing it with Louis in this episode. I really love how this season uses like parallel storytelling and gives us some moments that happened in season 1 or maybe even earlier in the same season, and we see it again with a different character or a different way how the story is being told. I really like that. We'll see that again later on in the episode as well with Louis I'll save that for later if I remember. Hopefully I remember. But Daniel inevitably crosses the line, right? As Old Manual, as the fandom calls him. Let's say 2020's Daniel. He does the same thing. He pushes Louis' buttons. He crosses the line sometimes. And we have him doing the same thing in regards to the same thing in the past. Claudia is Louis' trigger, and Daniel loves to press on that button, okay? So he kind of taunts Louis again, like, you should have left with her. When Claudia was leaving on the train to get away the second time, he says, why did you stay? You should have left with her. Like, what's your problem? You're here whining and complaining about life when you're wasting it. Give it to me. So that's the trigger that causes Louis to bite Daniel and attack him. But with the revelation in this episode is that Armand comes in, breaks them up, and they get into the most devastating fight that I've ever seen on television or in a movie. It is vicious, it's horrible, it made me sad, but it was also so juicy. It was so juicy. And like, side note, they said that this was the first episode shot of the season. This is the first episode that we're seeing of Assad slipping into Armand's skin and really doing him so much justice. It's wild to me how beautifully acted it is, how amazing he's able to portray Armand, and I can't believe it was the first episode that they shot of the season. It's amazing. But yeah, him and Louis get into this horrible fight, and I want to say that I don't love comparing and contrasting between the couples of Lestat and Armand, because it's like Jacob has said, they're two separate relationships. We shouldn't be comparing and contrasting, but inevitably it's going to happen. So we have that fight that happened in season 1, episode 5, and then we have this fight happening in season 2, episode 5. Oh wow, look how that goes. Yeah, I just realized that it was the same episode. We have these, and I believe it was written by the same writer as well. Sis loves to get messy, okay? So I believe that this fight is even worse than the Lestat fight for a couple of reasons. Not to be dismissive of domestic violence and whatnot, but like, I believe it was Sam who said, and I totally kind of jumped onto that bandwagon, like, vampires have this nature, this violent nature to them. Vampires live a long time. Vampires have supernatural strength. So this fight that they have, which it's not domestic violence to how it's commonly thought about, as a one partner physically, mentally, verbally abusing the other partner, because it was a fight between them. Louis wasn't sitting in the corner just taking the abuse and not fighting back. He was an active participant. He actually is the one who attacked Lestat first. So, I mean, obviously Lestat is stronger and older, and he has all these extra powers that Louis does not have at this point. So it's not a fair fight, but it was a fight between, these two characters. And they're vampires. They have supernatural strength. They have supernatural healing abilities. They have a supernatural lifetime. So this fight that happens between them is a glimpse in time. It's a moment in time in comparison to the long life that they're gonna live. We can't, I think, I'm paraphrasing, I think who I believe it was, Sam. We can't measure this fight between two supernatural beings with, humanity and like how humans experience this kind of stuff. And I also believe that the fight in 5, I believe it didn't happen. I'm gonna say it. I believe that, and we'll see in this episode why I believe it. I don't believe that it happened. I don't believe that Lestat dropped Louis from 1,000,000 feet in the air. I don't think that he would do it. I honestly don't. But we do see one character from the books who absolutely does that, and that's Armand. Armand drops Lestat while he's already injured from a great height and breaks all his bones, and he has to take an even longer time to recover. We see that happening with Armand and Lestat. Did he implant this idea in Louis' head that Lestat did that to him instead to make Lestat even more of a villain in Louis' eyes? I don't know. Am I reaching, y'all? That was just my thought, that the fight was not as bad as it appeared in episode 5. Also, that fight in episode 5, I don't believe was that bad because it wasn't premeditated. It was in the heat of battle, and like in the heat of battle, it was in the heat of the moment. It was in the heat of the moment. And isn't that like a defense in some states, like a crime of passion? And you know, they acted out on something that they would not normally do. So yeah, that's why I also, you know, it was a very heated moment, but it wasn't premeditated or pre-thought about. Now this fight with Armand and Louis, though, it's worse for me because one, it does seem premeditated. It does seem like they have been ruminating on all of these gripes with each other for a long time, for almost as long as their relationship. And they bring up their worst traumas and throw them in each other's faces. They're mocking each other down to the accent. And it's between two people who chose each other fully level-headed. Also, it feels like they went into this relationship fully knowing who each other was and revealing to each other who they were. Whereas Lestat and Louis, we have one chasing the other, them both suppressing their true selves and true natures. So it's understandable how something like that fight could bubble up, but it's so heartbreaking for this relationship that you would never expect this level of ferocity and pettiness and anger to come from. So I was super sad, especially, I said, as my burgeoning Lumon shipper heart, to see them implode so poorly. So the fight was really intense and I hated it, but it was juicy. It was juicy as hell. Like, it was so good. And we also learned from that fight that Louis going on benders every 3 times a year. And I read an interview with Sam who says partly these benders is because Louis is addicted to, what is it, crack, meth, whatever. He's addicted to drugs, basically, through drinking all these low lives and underbelly of society type people. He's addicted to drugs through drinking their blood, like an addict. He's an addict. So that was really interesting to learn about Louis, and then it puts the fight into context even more when Armand is like, okay, yeah, you do this 3 times a year and then you brush it off and say sorry and I'm supposed to move on. Like, enough already, right? And what happens afterward is something that I did not expect in this episode. Jacob did hint in some other interview that Louis might harm himself. So, and in the books, spoiler alert, Louis does harm himself in the books, not in the interview or even in the first 3 chronicles, but later on in the series, he does harm himself as well. And then we also have that foreshadowing in episode 1 where he tells Claudia, I won't go into the fire, I won't go that way as long as you walk the earth. So, which would hint that since she is not walking the earth anymore, he's more susceptible to that again, because we've seen Louis feeling those types of feelings in multiple times in season 1. So he finally harms himself, and I did not expect it in this episode, and that was super shocking. But my question is Louis gonna do it again? I feel like he might do it again later on in this season because of that Armand line in season 1 where he says to Daniel, you're chronicling a story. So does he mean that by putting this story out here, like he says, the vampires are gonna come, so Louis knows this, so it's sort of by like Proctor, I guess? Or does he literally mean like Louis is gonna do something to himself? So I'm taking that to mean like Louis might actually do something to himself again before the season is over or at the end of the season. I'm not sure though. So there was a question of why does Louis go into the sun? Was it the drugs? Was it the fight with Armand? Or was it something else? I was leaning more towards that it was something else. He's fighting with Armand, but you can tell he's even bored of the fight with Armand. It's giving. So I don't believe that it was the fight that triggered him. I believe that the fight might have triggered a memory, because he tells Armand says she hated you. And he says, I know, I remember it. I'm remembering it. Thanks for saying it. So I feel like maybe Claudia said that to him at the trial. He might have blocked it out. Armand might have helped him block it out. And he's remembering that in that moment. And he's hearing her. And we see that Louis has some hallucination issues. So he might be even seeing her when he goes out upstairs to the roof to the sun. So I think it's a combination of all of that, and that's why Louis actually goes into the sun, which is extremely sad. On this issue of self-harm in this episode, we have Armand talking Daniel into. Armand is pissed. He's pissed that Louis spoke to him in this way. He's pissed that he now has to deal with Louis after he saved him from the sun. He's pissed that Louis has found this mortal, quote unquote, fascinating. And why is this mortal, this lowly mortal, this savory inferior, why is he so much more fascinating than Armand? So Armand takes this anger out on Daniel, and at the end, he's being his merciful death character. That's what they call him in the book, because he has a way of seducing people, just like the vampires in the Coven seduce humans, seduce victims into accepting death. Louis even says it in the episode. He says, when Armand is not hunting, these bad guys, he's choosing victims that are half in love with death. And I think that's the core of the thing with Daniel at the end. After he's done, grilling him about what makes him so fascinating, he's like, okay, it's time for you to die now. So he's giving Daniel all these reasons why his life was shit, is shit, and will be shit again. So, to quote Louis from episode 1. And he's kind of lulling him into accepting death, accepting his merciful death. Now, but is it coercion, or is he literally seeing something in Daniel that shows that he wants to die? I initially thought he was seeing to the core of Daniel, and that Daniel did want to die and just didn't know it, because Daniel's flirting with death constantly. He's taking these hard drugs. He's doing shady things for these drugs. He's putting himself in dangerous situations for his interviews. So it's easy to say that yes, Daniel is half in love with death, but we see Daniel steadfastly saying, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I want to live. I want this shitty life. He even says to Louis, like, that's what makes life special. All the shit. And you have a way to not just experience the shitty part of life, but get to live forever, to make it right, to do it again and again, and to make it better. So Daniel definitely, he does want to live. And I'm kind of coming to that conclusion right now as I talk about it. And I believe this again because we see what Armand has done to Louis and Daniel. He has erased their memories, basically. He's fed them a story of what happened that is not what actually happened. Louis and Daniel can't remember anything after Louis attacking him. So he erased the memories of the fight and the attack on Daniel and Louis' attempt to end himself. And the speech where he gives him to coerce him into this action. So, and all that is because of Armand's intense need to control the situation, intense need to keep Louis, keep his love. And I want to talk a little bit about Armand's cruelty in this episode. Now, I was low-key becoming Team Armand. I was low-key on the bandwagon of maybe he could not have prevented it, Claudia's death. And now I'm just like, yeah, he's shown this other side that is completely unhinged and just nasty and ruthless when the things that he wants are threatened. We have the mind erasing of it all, but we also have the cruelty of him not healing Louis very slowly basically on his own timeline. Louis has to beg him for blood to help heal his wounds faster. Louis has to beg him to move him into the safety of his coffin. We have Armand psychologically torturing Daniel in front of Louis. He has all this, he's doing all these things, but the cherry on top is him telling Louis, if you wanted to go, that's all you had to say. Like, I would have let you go. Oh, and guess what? Lestat's alive. And I know where he is, and it seems like you wanna go to him. It seems like this is what this whole interview was about, a way of goading him into coming to chase you. So we're gonna cut the chase. I'm gonna telepathically call him, and I'll be the conduit to which you two can speak since there's silence between you. So he calls, Louis is telling him, no, I do not want you to do this, but he calls Lestat anyway. And then he's speaking to Lestat, and Lestat's speaking to him, giving him messages to Louis. And that scene was so heartbreaking. It just made me such a strong I'm a Lestat stripper. I'm a Lestat stripper. I ship Louis and Lestat. They're my favorite pairing in the show. And even though I'm open to the other ships, but they're my favorite. They're my OTP. And that kind of really strengthened it so much, because my thought was going into this season that one, Louis didn't know that Lestat was alive. Lestat didn't know Louis was alive. And at the end of the season, after the trial, they sort of part ways, not knowing that they're either alive or dead. There might be some hidden animosities because of why the trial had to happen in the first place, and then what's going to happen in the trial. So my thought was, like, are they still in love? Is there still love between them at the end of all of this? And I thought no, but here we have not only Louis knowing that Lestat's alive, Lestat's knowing that Louis was alive, at least at the beginning of the call. Sam seems to think that because Louis does not respond, that he's thinking the worst. He's thinking Louis might be dead or dying. I don't think I believe it. I don't think I go that far, but he tells Armand to tell him I love him repeatedly. And the cruelty, getting back to the cruelty of Armand, he does not tell Louis this. When he tells Louis everything else that Lestat says, but when it comes to Lestat saying, tell Louis I love him, he goes silent. And that is extremely cruel, because not only this was his idea, Louis did not want this, but then he's denying Louis of his agency. When he saves him from the sun, when he erases his memory, when he's not telling Louis that his maker, let's be real, the love of his life, telling him that he loves him. He knows that that's gonna be the nail in the coffin of Louis and Armand's relationship being over, and possibly Louis going back to Lestat. So he knows this, and or at least he figures it out in that moment. And along with this telepathic call, we have Louis not, firstly, denying that saying that he doesn't want Armand to do it to begin with, and then him remaining silent throughout the whole interaction, and finally saying, he was just my maker, that's it. Armand is of the opinion that, again, Louis was doing this whole first interview to get Lestat's attention. And that's a funny thing too. In the books, Lestat happens upon Into the Vampire. All the books are canon in the world of the Vampire Chronicles. So Lestat happens upon Louis' book. In the show, they're trying to say, like, Louis was intentionally saying all these horrible things about Lestat for it to get published, to get his attention. But funnily enough, in the books, it's Lestat's autobiography, his music videos, and his music that is almost solely the purpose of getting Louis' attention to come and find him. We have canon, but canon happening in a different way. Going along with this idea of Armand's cruelty, Armand does not save Louis, in my opinion. Armand does not save Louis from the sun for altruistic reasons. He saves Louis from the sun because he doesn't want to be alone. He's like, okay, he doesn't seemingly have the coven anymore. He doesn't mess with mortals. You know, he doesn't have that connection or that interest in mortals from what we've seen. Louis is the only vampire that we see Armand connect with. So when he loses Louis, it's like he doesn't have anything. And in the books, the whole reason why he's so attached to Louis is because of this detachment and this ennui and this long life that's weighing on him. And Louis is just like a breath of fresh air, and he immediately falls for Louis because of those reasons, because Louis is so human, because Louis is so connected to the current times. So And I'm assuming it's very much the same for Armand in the show. So like Louis is his lifeline. We see that he's extremely upset with Louis. He's upset with their relationship. He's basically over it. But he can't let it go because then he'll be alone. And we know loneliness is the vampire killer. It's the real vampire killer. Stronger than the sun, stronger than the fire, stronger than a beheading. And I also got that idea that he didn't save him for him, because then he erases his memories. If he had saved Louis for Louis' sake, wouldn't he have wanted Louis to remember that? This hero moment for him? He doesn't, because he didn't do it for Louis. So at the end of the episode, once Louis and Daniel have pieced together these memories that they have lost together, and they're bonded and they're BFFs, which I loved. They're putting their feet into the rocks, putting their heads together, and coming to this conclusion that we're not so different, you and I. And I really loved it. I really loved seeing Daniel and Louis connect. Eric Bogosian says that both Louis and Daniel are extremely lonely. And I hadn't even considered that. You know, we have Daniel over here living alone, estranged from his wife and daughters at the end of his career. And we have Louis here sequestered away in this penthouse in Dubai, no other vampires, just Armand. The humans that are around him are either food or servants who he doesn't really bother with. So they're both very lonely. And that Louis being alone reminded me of that scene, episode 3, where we see Louis sleeping soundly, and I was like, Louis so sleeping beauty. And Louis is Disney princess coded. He's up hidden away in this tower, away from everyone else, waiting for his true love's kiss to wake him up. So yeah, it was just funny, like putting those connections together. At the end of the episode, we have Daniel and Louis standing strong against the big bad Armand. They're standing together against Armand, where once we had Louis and Armand against Daniel, now we're Daniel and Louis against Armand, seemingly. I'm so curious to see how this is gonna play out. How is this going to affect the dynamic, all the dynamics between the three of them going forward? Are Louis and Daniel going to let on that they know that what Armand did to them? Is this the end of Louis and Armand's relationship? Is this the beginning of Daniel and Armand's relationship? If you know, you know. Yeah, so I'm super curious on what's to come. What do y'all think? Some people said that they thought that Louis looked pissed. I got a glimpse of that, but I got more calculating. I got more, okay, I see what you did. Like, you want to play this game? Meta? I'll show you who Meta is. Like, who gave you permission to do this? So I was always under the impression that Louis and Armand came to the decision together to not erase his memories, but lessen them somehow, not make them as bad. Because we did hear in a couple episodes, Louis like, oh yeah, except for that, you know, unpleasant incident that happened in Paris. Like, I love Paris. Like, unpleasant incident? Like, what are you talking about? Like, your child's murder? So I always thought it was like a lessening of the memories, like maybe making it not so bad, making him literally not remember some aspects, like knowing the general story but not the horrific specifics. That was my conclusion. But apparently Armand has picked and chose picked and chosen things that he just wanted to completely erase without Louis' consent. So what the hell? Where was Lestat in the 70s? Where is Lestat in the 2020s? So many questions. I thought I knew, but I have no idea. Like, we still have some scenes in from the trailers that we have not seen yet. The books falling around Daniel's head, the scene between him and the Talamasca agent, Raglan James. You fear Armand, you should fear the other one. Like, what's gonna happen? This snippet of information that Eric brought up and Lestat said in season 1, those who must be kept, are they the groan? Have we been paying attention? Have we been hearing the groan this season? So many questions still to be answered. Why is Armand allowing this interview to happen again when he knew how disastrous it was in the past? Why is he allowing it again? What is Daniel getting out of this? What is Louis getting out of this? Still so many questions. Can't wait to see if they're answered in the coming episodes. But yeah, y'all, if y'all have any ideas about any of those questions or any theories, leave them down below in the comments. Thank you so much for listening to this rant, basically. I was so sure that this was gonna be the shortest one of these like review recaps, but I think it might be the longest. Like, I was like, oh, nothing much happened in the episode. There wasn't, all these little separate storylines going on. Yeah, and yet we've talked the longest that we've talked. But yeah, y'all, thank you so much for watching if you've gotten this far, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.